Let's continue our class today. So far, Chapter 8, we talk about accounts receivables, 应收账款, right? So the main issue we talk about is the risk, right? So what's the risk? Maybe some amount of money we cannot get it, right? So the whole process we've done already. Remember from your handout on page 17. On the last day, at the end of each period on the last day, what should we do? We consider the risk, right? So we use allowance method 背离法 to consider the risk. After that, we record the risk on your accounting books, right? But it's true or not? It's not, right? So what's a debit? Payday expense. What's a credit? Allowance for double account. Debit 坏账费用，有呆呆它坏坏。Credit allowance for double account 被理呆账。Okay? Then later, the second point of time is what? In the future, at some point, you find out customers really cannot pay your money back. So customer disappeared. Then what should we do? Write off, 冲销, right? We give out our money, accounts receivables. Okay? So we make estimated loss become actual loss. 估计损失转实际损失, right? So what's our journal entry we used? Debit, allowance for double account, 被抵呆账. Credit, accounts receivables. Okay? So it means our estimated loss become actual loss. So normally there are these two events we had to record in accounting. Last day, we consider estimate the risk. Later, when actual loss happened, we write off, 冲销, give out our money, okay? So how about the third one? It's about miracle, right? So usually, this kind of things will not happen. But when miracle happen, then we are going to record our miracle. So when miracle happen, what does it mean? Before we give out our money, because we're pretty sure customers will not pay the money back. Miracle happened. After 10 or 20 years later, customers show up and told you, okay, they want to pay the money back. So what should we do? First thing, you have to pick up your accounts receivables. You throw away before, right? So before we throw away, so right now, we don't have the related record. Can you do the same thing? Can we get the money? You cannot, okay? So since we throw away our accounts receivable before, so we don't have the related accounts receivables on books. Since we don't have accounts receivables, $500 on books, can you get the money? No, you cannot. So that's why we pick up our accounts receivables again, okay? So we throw away before we pick up the accounts receivables. After you pick up your accounts receivables, how? Reverse the journal entry, okay? So when we reverse the journal entry, that means what? You concealed the record you had before, okay? So after this, our accounts receivable increase. Do you have the record on your books? Yes, I have the record accounts receivable $500 on books. So can you get the money now? Yes. So after this, you can get the money from customers. So your cash increase, accounts receivable decrease. But right now, at this point, your accounts receivable decrease is because customers don't owe you money anymore. You got the cash, okay? Any questions? So that's a whole process we have so far. Any questions? No? Then today, what kind of things we want to do? On the last day, we estimate, we consider the risk is $12,000, right? So we try to compute the amount by ourselves, okay? So today's job for you guys is how to get this amount. $12,000 by yourself. No problem? Okay, so let's see how to get this amount by yourself. Before we go to that, here just want to remind you again, on your slide, page 61, we have two methods, right? The very right method 直接冲销法 allowance method 被抵法 but right now we only use allowance method 被抵法 okay? So we don't use the very right method 直接冲销法 anymore. Why? Because the very right method 直接冲销法 we didn't consider the risk, okay? So when we ignore the risk, that will make shareholders, investors too overconfident, okay? When they are overconfident, sometimes they will make wrong decisions, okay? So we don't use the first method anymore. We just use allowance method, okay? So when we use these two methods, you can find out here, the very right method, can you find out this amount on your statement of comprehensive income? You cannot. Why is that? Because we ignore the risk, right? So on the last day, here we mean on the last day, at the end of each period, you cannot find out any information about the risk. Why is that? Because the very right method, you are optimistic, right? So we ignore the risk until it really happened. But how about allowance method? Even though the risk haven't happened yet, right? But we consider the risk at the end of each period, okay? So did you find the difference right here? Allowance method on the last day, you can find out the risk, $10, okay? So the risk is $10. But for the very right method, we ignore the risk. So you cannot find out any information about the risk. Okay? Okay. How about balance sheet? For balance sheet still, the very right method, we ignore the risk. So when customers owe you money, $8,000, we just report $8,000. We ignore the risk, okay? But for allowance method 被抵法, even though customers owe you money $8,000, but we consider the risk $400, then we got NRV 净变现价值. What does it mean? This amount of money we expect to get back in the future, okay? So right here, we still consider the risk. Okay? No problem? And did you find out one thing? For the risk, when we talk about the risk on statement of comprehensive income, payday expense, did you find out usually this amount will not be the same as this amount on balance sheet? Will not. Remember, because even though we talk about the same thing, risk, payday expense, this amount is only for 1 year, okay? So this amount is only for 1 year. But for balance sheet, did you find out $400? That amount, $400, they are accumulated over years. Okay, so here just want to remind you again, usually for most of cases, these two amounts will not be the same. When you find out the risk on payday expense, usually this amount, $10, will not be the same as that $400 we find out on balance sheet will not, okay? So you have to understand, usually these two amounts will not be the same because for 1 year or for accumulated. Okay? So there's a whole contents we have so far. Matthew, what are you doing? You can go outside right now. I don't need to wait for you. Okay? No problem? Okay, so there's a concept we have. Then, today, we want to talk about is on your slide, page 68, your textbook 8-9. Since you understand, so far we use allowance method. So we use allowance method, 背离法 to record the risk. Okay? So what's a debit? What's a credit? Debit, payday expense. Credit, allowance for doubtful account. Debit, 坏账费用. Credit, 被抵贷账. Okay? So today we want to talk about is how to determine the amount. We want to estimate this amount. Okay? So there's a job we want to do today. Estimate the risk. So the amount means the risk. We want to know what's the amount for your risk. 估计风险的金额。Okay, two methods. First is percentage of total receivables. 应收账款余额百分比法。Percentage of total receivables. Second method is aging the accounts receivables. 账龄分析法。These two methods, actually, they are the same, okay? So we use the same logic, same concept to estimate this amount. So these two methods, usually they are the same. The only difference is the second method, we consider one factor more, okay? So the difference is the second method, we consider one factor more. Okay? So that's why first method is more simple. Second method, we use it trying to get more accurate, more exact amount we want, okay? After we consider one factor, so we can get more accurate, more exact amount. Okay, so it means you understand the first one, you should understand the second one because they are the same. The only difference is this factor, okay? So let's look at the first method, percentage of total receivables. Can you guess how? Based on total receivables, we give them some percentage, okay? So the first method, percentage of receivables, based on our accounts receivables. Based on our accounts receivables, we give them some percentage. So it means based on your accounts receivables, we give them some percentage. The percentage is this amount we cannot get back, okay? So accounts receivables times some percentage. Okay? So some percentage means what? This amount, maybe we cannot get back. So it's what? It's our risk, right? So the amount maybe we cannot get back. So this is our risk. So can you tell me, accounts receivables times some percentage, you got this amount. So this amount is what? Still our risk, right? Okay. Based on accounts receivables, we expect some percentage, maybe we cannot get back, okay? So we can get the amount of money, maybe we cannot get back. Based on this, can you tell me? Accounts receivable right here means which time? This accounts receivable means when? On which date? Actually, this accounts receivable. Don't forget, allowance for doubtful account, allowance method 被抵法 when we do this kind of things. On the last day, right? Before we prepare financial statements, we want to know how much we are going to report on financial statements, right? So when we do this kind of things on the last day, so since we do this kind of things on the last day, so can you tell me this amount of money is our ending balance, right? 期末余额 on the last day. Okay? And also don't forget, accounts receivables, this account, we include the number only for 1 year or is accumulated. Accounts receivables, can you find out this amount on the last day? This accumulated or only for 1 year? Of course, accumulated. Don't forget, we have only 3 accounts. They are numbers for 1 year. What are these 3 accounts? They are numbers only for 1 year. Revenue, expenses, dividends, okay? Others, when you find out the number on the last day, of course, they are accumulated, okay? So this number is accumulated. Okay? And based on this number, we times some percentage. Can you tell me this amount is also on the last day, right? And also is accumulated. So based on ending balance, based on accumulated amount, when you do some math, you will get the number, of course, is ending balance and is accumulated. Okay? Can you understand? 根据期末余额累积的数字做任何的计算，得到了当然是期末累积的数字啊。OK？ It's quite important. Based on this, they will help us to get the risk, the amount we are going to record this year. Okay? So can you tell me the risk accumulated, which account we use? So far, you have only 2 choices, right? For the risk, we have 2 accounts to record the risk. First is payday expense, right? Second is allowance for doubtful account. Can you tell me which one? Allowance for doubtful account, right? So remember right here, if you forgot, it's okay. The risk, you have 2 options. First is the risk for payday expense. Second is the risk for allowance for doubtful account. Which one we use it to include the amount is accumulated. Allowance for doubtful account, right? Okay. So here, when we talk about ending balance accumulated based on your accounts receivable, the risk, actually this account we use is allowance for doubtful account, 备抵代账。Okay. Okay. So let's look at the simple case right here. Focus on accounts receivable first. Remember, since accounts receivable is accumulated, right? So don't forget, always we have beginning balance, 提出余额 from where? From last year, right? So here I told you what kind of information you can get. Beginning balance, $200 means what? From last year, customer totally owe you money, $200. So last year, customers owed $200. Okay, but remember $200 still, the number is accumulated, okay? Since your company's first day to last year, totally $200. So $200 means what? Since your company's first date to last year. So maybe, for example, 10 years. If I assume 10 years. So for past 10 years, customer total orders money, $200. How about this year? What happened? Accounts receivable increased 100, increased 50. Can you tell me the sales is credit sales or cash sales? Credit sales, right? Remember, credit sales means what? Customers on account on credit didn't pay the money, right? When customers haven't paid the money yet, at the same time, accounts receivable increase, right? If customer pay the cash sales, do they owe you money? No more, right? So here, sales means credit sales. Social. Customers buy your products, they haven't paid the money yet, okay? Then what happened? Accounts receivable decreased because you got the cash from customers. So customers pay some amount of money to you. So that's why your accounts receivable decreased because customers paid. Okay? Then what else will make your accounts receivable decrease? Remember? Did you find out? Two major reasons will make your accounts receivable decrease. First is what? Write off. 冲销. Okay, so means what? You have actual loss. Second reason will make your accounts receivable decrease is what? Customers pay, right? So the two major reasons make your accounts receivable decrease. First is write-off, because we have actual loss, so we give out our money. Second is customers pay, so they don't owe us money anymore. So your accounts receivable decrease, okay? So that's why here, first reason, customers paid. Second reason, we have actual loss. So you write off, 冲销, give up your money. So right here, we write off because your actual loss incurred happened. So you write off, 冲销. Okay. So anyway, after the whole year, something happened. We have a credit sales, customers paid, and we give up our money. So in the end, on the last day of this year, we still have accounts receivable, $262, right? So based on accounts receivables, $262. That's our ending balance. So it means what? On the last day of this year. Customers still owe you money. How much? $262, right? But remember, this number is based on what? $200 from last year, plus $150 from this year, and minus $80 and $8. So in the end, we got 262, right? So remember, this number is accumulated. We accumulated since company's first day to right now. So this number is accumulated. So just want to remind you again, this number is accumulated. Okay, so based on this number, customers totally owe you money 262. We consider the risk. Okay, so we consider the risk is 5%. Okay, so 5%, how much? Accounts receivable 262 times 5%, we find out is $13.1. So the amount we think maybe we cannot get back is $13.1. Still, that's the risk. So the amount maybe we cannot get back. Okay? But don't forget, $60.1, what does it mean? Is on the last day, totally, we think the accumulated amount is $30.1. Maybe we cannot get it, right? So it's what? It's $30.1 is our accumulated risk. Since the company's first day to right now, maybe 11 years. So customers maybe totally cannot pay us money, $30.1. Okay? So that's why we find out the numbers right here, $30.1. Okay? So this is our step one. we find out our accumulated risk. So our step 1 is based on accounts receivables 262. Then we find out the accumulated risk is $30.1. That's our accumulated risk. Okay, any questions? No problem? Okay, so since we got $30.1 on the last day for our accumulating risk, what's the next? Don't forget, accounts receivable is accumulated. So we have a beginning balance, right? Allowance for double account, still that is accumulated. So don't forget, we have what? Beginning balance, right? Okay, so let's see it. Finally, we got 30.1, but allowance for double account 被理代账. How about that beginning balance $20? What does it mean? We have beginning balance $20. What does it mean? You know, beginning balance from where? From ending balance of last year, right? So don't forget, we have to consider the risk. Is only this year? Of course not. We consider the risk every year, right? So this year, we consider the risk. Last year, we do the same thing. We consider the risk last year. How about 2 years ago? We still consider the risk 2 years ago, right? So we do the same thing every year. So the same. Any balance of last year means what? On the last year, we think we have the risk. How much? $20, okay? So we do the same thing on last year. So last year, we estimate the accumulated risk, $20. Okay, so the last year, we think we have the risk, $20. So means what? We think in the future, maybe we have a $20 we cannot get back. So last year, we think in the future, maybe $20 cannot get back. Okay, so we do the same thing every year. So how about future? Future, this year is the future, right? So based on the $20, our estimated risk from last year, then in the future, this year, you find out, oh, the actual loss incurred $8, okay? So in the future means this year, we find out the actual loss, $8. Okay? So can you tell me, last year we think risk is $20. Actual loss $8. So how many estimated amount we still have from last year? 12, right? So based on $20, estimated loss, $8 actually happened. So we still have a $12 estimated amount left, right? So that $12 is the existing balance. Existing balance means what? It's based on the $20. We minus $8 actual. Okay? So means what? We still think $12 risk we will have in the future, right? So we think we still have the risk in the future, $12. So there's a risk you still have, okay, remaining. 剩下的估计风险，估计风险的剩下余额。Okay, so when you look at your accounting books, you still think from last year, we still have the risk. $12 haven't happened yet, right? Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Based on this, remember from step 1, we find out what's the total risk we have. $13.1, right? So from step 1, we base on our accounts receivables times 5%. You find out your accumulated risk is 13.1, right? But right now on your accounting book, you think the accumulated risk we have still have the remaining amount is 12, right? So based on these two amounts, can you tell me your risk increased how much this year? The difference, right? So based on the risk we have on our accounting books right now, so this is on your books already. So on your accounting books, you know you still have the risk. $12 haven't happened yet. But on last day, we think we need the total risk is 30.1. So can you tell me the risk increase this year, how much? The difference, right? So based on these two amounts, we know the risk increase should be $1.1, right? So that $1.1 means what? The risk increase this year. So I have $12 on my books already. Totally, I need 30.1. So means what? This year, I need the risk increase $1.1 more, okay? Can you tell me? We got all the numbers we need, right? So right now we need journal entry, debit, credit. Debit, pay the expense. Credit allows for double account to record the risk, right? Which amount we use? So since we got all the numbers we have, so on the last day, December 31st, we want to record the risk. So debit, pay the expense. Credit, allowance for double account. We use it to record the risk. Which number? 12, 1.1, 30.1. Which one? What's the number? 12, 1.1, or 30.1? 30.1? Actually, 30.1? Amelia, what do you think? 12, 1.1, 30.1 when we're trying to record the risk for this year. What do you think? Diane, which one you think? Yeah, 1.1 and 30.1. Yeah, pick it from these two for sure. Because what? $12 on your accounting books already. So when you open your accounting books, you will find out 12 already. Okay? So which one? The answer is 1.1. Remember, I just mentioned last week, journal entry. We use journal entry just to recall this year's situation. How about last year? Last year, we recall it last year already. So did you find out? $12 on your accounting books already. So if you pick 30.1, means what? You will double the amount again, right? So that $12 on your books, you did that things last year already. A journal entry we just do this year, okay? So this year, we have a risk increase 1.1. So based on accounting books, we have $12. This year, we just record 1.1. So when you post to T account, they will become the answer we want, okay? So it should be 1.1. Okay, remember, journal entry only for this year. Journal entry only for this year. Any questions? So it means what? When I estimate the risk, it's not enough. So we will estimate more risk this year, okay? When our estimate is not enough, because totally we think it's 30.1, but on your books only 12, okay? So when you find out your estimated amount is not enough, comparing 12 and 30.1, when it's not enough, then we will estimate more this year, okay? 有听过吗？少估，去年少估，今年就多估一点嘛。去年多估，今年就少估一点嘛。所以估计就是这样，去年不够用，去年估计的少，今年就多估一点。去年估计的太多了，今年就少估一点。根据什么？剩下来的跟你最后需要的做比较嘛。所以去年估计的12少估了，不够你用，因为你 total 需要13.1，所以去年估计也不够用，那你今年就多估1.1嘛，多估一点嘛。那如果去年你发现如果这边是14，那你需要只有13.1，去年估的超过你需要的，那就干嘛？今年就少估一点嘛。Okay, any questions? Anyone? I heard someone want to ask any question. No? Okay. So that's right. When you find out your estimated amount is not enough, then you will estimate more this year. OK， 去年少估，今年多估一点。Okay, that's it. That's the whole process we have. So step 1, find out your total risk we have. So there's an accumulated risk, right? But based on total risk, you have to compare with the $12 on your books already. So step 2, we will find out what's the amount we are going to record, estimate this year. It's only 1.1, okay? So that's our step 2. Find out this amount only for this year. So step 1, find out total amount. Step 2, find out this amount only for this year, okay? Because our journal entry will record only for this year. How about last year? We've done already last year. Any questions? No problem? Then let's take a break. Later, we will use simple case to let you practice it.